It's going to be a good game. I think they're playing as well as they've played all year. I think we're playing at our best right now. Both teams have been dominant for the most part this year. You know, the first game against them probably would have been a shootout, except we created some turnovers when they were going in to score on us, and that really gave us a margin in the game. We made our share of plays, and they made their share of their plays, but those turnovers were big. And usually in those big games, it comes down to turnovers and special teams, and I expect that to be a factor tomorrow. All I can tell you is everybody in our building is doing things exactly the same way we've been doing them for 11 weeks and longer, since we had hurricane games and everything else. Practice have been great. The coaches are dialed in, the players are dialed in, the trainers and equipment guys are dialed in. This team wants to finish this off the right way. We know we have a big challenge and a good opponent in front of us, but they're going to get our best, and if we play as well as we can play, then I like our chances. No reason. Taj's a great player, and we trust him. We'll put him in at any time. I think Otis has probably earned the right to be out there a little bit with some of the plays he's made, but I've said this a bunch. There's a bunch of guys on our team and a bunch of backs that we trust to do the job, and I have no problem with any of them being in there. You know, I don't know. It's the same guys. They've changed their schemes up a little bit, particularly on defense. They're playing more man-to-man coverage, doing some different things. They've moved a couple players to different spots on defense. But their guys are familiar with our guys, and our guys are familiar with their guys. And I think both teams have continued to evolve and improve over the course of the season. You know, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I know our team's going to be ready, and we're going to play well, and we're looking forward to the challenge. Well, people have been trying to get me to talk all year about our ranking and where we should be, and I don't want to do that. I don't think it's my place to do that, but I will talk about the football in this conference. I don't think USF gets the credit they deserve in this country. That is a fine football team that we played last week. If you look at a team like our opponent tomorrow that beat UCLA by about the same margin that USC beat UCLA, and a bunch of people sitting in a room think USC is a lot better team than Memphis. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You know, there's countless examples of that. Arizona being a good Pac-12 team, and Houston going out there and getting a win. UCF score comparison with Maryland compared to Wisconsin, and Navy compared to Notre Dame. I think this conference deserves more attention than what it's getting, and more credit than what it's getting right now. And I'm not just saying that about our team. I think that there's a lot of football teams in this league that could beat a bunch of teams in those big leagues. And I think a lot of people know it and recognize it. And I'm not sure that several teams in this league are getting a fair shake.
Well, yeah, this is our third trip to Orlando, and you know, the first two didn't go exactly the way that we hoped. But you know, looking back at that first game, that was a great learning experience for us. It was one that you know, we didn't feel that we played as you know, to the ability of what we're capable of. But you know, Central Florida had a great deal to do with that. They're a phenomenal football team. We knew going into that game that you know, it was going to be a challenge. Our first road trip, we were coming off you know, a couple early season games where we faced some adversity and some injuries that showed up, and we had some newcomers that were learning how to communicate. They were learning how to play together. You know, we turned the ball over multiple times offensively. We didn't score in the red zone. Basically, all the things that are necessary to win a big game, we weren't able to accomplish. But you know, the day after our last game, we got together as a football team, and we talked about you know, each experience, and we had to build off of every experience, good, bad, and indifferent. And that's one thing that our football team, the way that we prepared, the intensity, the focus of every rep in practice, it had to get better, because we saw a different standard. We saw what could happen if we did not play to the best of our ability, and our kids, they responded to that. And you know, credit to our coaching staff. I mean, the assistant coaches, coordinators, everybody had a part into selling the same message. But our kids took it and ran. And you know, we talked about midway through the season. You know, you look at college football, you see you know, half the teams in it you know, kind of get complacent with where they are, and then a select few of them, you know, continue to progress week in and week out, building off the experiences that they have. And that's something I think I've seen our football team do. No, it's a huge game, and when you sit down before the year, and all the way back to January, each coach, each player sets out a line of goals of what we want to do. How do we want to see our football team progress? And tomorrow is we're getting closer. Obviously, being able to win the West Division was something that was big, but to do it in the fashion that we were able to for that to occur was pretty special. And now to be a 10-1 football team going into the conference championship game against an undefeated Central Florida team, we know the implications of what can come if we can find a way to be successful. And that's what makes it such a big game. It's a big game because the work that each and every one of our players and coaches have put into this season for every opportunity to be able to actually stand here today. But we know that if you can win tomorrow, if you can find a way to achieve that goal and that feat, that everything that we set out to at the beginning of the season to want to accomplish is there in front of us. And so it's a great compliment to our team and to our community, all the support that we've had in Memphis, the excitement that's continuing to build around the Tiger football program. It's pretty special. Well, we're excited for the opportunity to play in this game, and obviously we had no control over who we were going to play, where we were going to play. We tried to do the best of our ability throughout the season and ensure that we can get to this game. And when Central Florida won that game last Friday, we knew who we would play, but we still had business that we had to do finishing up our regular season. And so our guys are excited. We're excited for the opportunity, and we know that last time we were here, we didn't play up to the ability that we believe we can. And so, but once again, those are just words. We have to go and prove it on the field, and that's something we take a great deal of pride of within our program is to make sure our actions do a lot more talking than the words that we say. And last time we were here, we didn't show real well, but our kids are excited about being able to go out there and play to the best of our ability and hopefully put ourselves in position to be successful. Well, it's a challenge, and I think that any team that's played Central Florida this year has kind of went into it with the same headaches that we've experienced here throughout the week. But what makes them special is they're so diverse in how their presentation of attack. They can run inside, they can run outside. Obviously they've got many backs that can hurt you and are very explosive. If they get in the open field, their speed takes over, and they're definitely tough to get down. But then you also have a quarterback in Milton who you have to account for. Because if you don't have a hat accounting for him, he can make you pay with his legs. And then also, once you get to where you're trying to stop the run, well, they've got some very skilled receivers on the perimeter, and they can hurt you down the field in the passing game. So it's a great compliment. It's what as a guy that's been in offense has kind of been my background. I've got a tremendous deal of respect for Coach Frost and what they do because it is balanced, and that's what we try to do as well on offense, because that makes the challenges that much greater for a defense to have to defend.
Tomorrow's game.
It really doesn't. I'd like to believe that we're not the same team that we were in week 4 of the season, and we've built ourselves to where we are now. Do you learn up from the experience that we had? Yes, but Central Florida is also a different team than what they were. They've improved. They've progressed. They've been battle tested as well. So revenge is not a factor, because that's just an outward emotion of what you try to do. These guys are excited about playing in the game, and it's the greatest thing. We're sitting there talking as a coaching staff and as a football team to be able to play in a championship game. There's so many people that have been a part of this game for many years and never get the opportunity. So our kids, we prepared. When we worked hard, we put everything we have into this week of getting ready for the championship game, but we also enjoyed it. Because, man, this is something that they're going to remember the rest of their lives. And as we've been going through this, our process of the week, we've tried to make sure that we take advantage of each one of those days. But I can promise you they're going to cut it loose tomorrow and give everything that they have to work to be successful. But we have enough motivation inwardly to regardless of having to focus on anything from the outside. I think that from that game, that was the worst offensive performance that we've had actually since we've been here as a coaching staff and with this team, and so we really went back and did a lot of self-evaluation, and our guys, we each took accountability for what allowed that circumstance to happen. Coaches, players, everybody involved had to go back and, we had to rely on what allowed us to have success up until that point, and we had to build off of what we'd seen can hurt us. And so I think everybody just being accountable to their own personal improvement, making sure that every day that we stepped on that practice field, every game that we had an opportunity to play from that point, we had one focus. It was truly on ourselves and making sure that we put ourselves in a position to be successful. And then when you have the opportunity to make the play in the game because of that preparation, we're in a better situation to be able to make that happen.